Live and direct, we come and never pre-recorded, with information that will never be reported. Disregard the mainstream, media distorted. We come and listen and support it.
Hey, what's up, beautiful people? This is Zach Sweat with Eternal Strength. Thank you so much for tuning in to Eternal Strength Pirate Radio, and please be sure to check back each week as new episodes will be released.
I'm recording now.
Okay, it started.
It's real. It's the real fucking deal, dude.
I'm scared.
I did that approach last time. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming by. You guys have visited here before. Today we have Jason.
Hold on.
What are you doing? I'm on a flow here.
Before we do that, can I make some quick announcements? Is that okay? Before we
I thought we were gonna do the ads like separately.
No.
It felt like you already made the decision. So
yeah, I guess we can. Are you asking?
I just want to
fucking do it.
I want to make two quick announcements.
Here we go.
Eternal Strength coming up. Very excited about this.
Look into the camera and do it.
February 8th. This is Tuesday, February 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. One of our therapeutic mentors, Mike Fredrickson, will be giving a talk on addiction and recovery. So anybody in substance abuse that's dealt with it either on a personal level or family member or friend or anybody interested in addiction, recovery, substance abuse, Mike will be dropping knowledge. And it's going to be a beautiful open forum. Kara's going to be there supporting. I'm very excited about it. February 8th.
I can tell.
And then, and I hope you guys can make this one, February 11th, Friday, we have our first art show that the kids are putting on. And Ashley Beck and Ty Van are hosting this. And we're going to have finger sandwiches, cucumber water.
Come by, we'll have sandwiches.
And then it's going to be
It'll be cool. Be cool display of art and expression from our clients, from our team. It'll be very, very cool to put it on display.
So February 8th, Mike, Substance Abuse, February 11th, art show.
It had to be.
There you go.
Now you go.
I run shit around here. You hear that, Zach? You back down.
Oh, cool. So after this is done, all the post-production shit, you edit it, you sync it up. You do all
He's going to edit it to, like, come out horrible.
I'm going to cut him out. I'm going to blur his face the whole fucking time. So back to our guests. Is that cool? We have Jason, Sir Jason, and Jill from Brightstone Transitions. Now, I did ask for bios, and Jill, you sent them over, and I looked at it, and I said, oh my God, that is so much information. So I'm going to be honest, I'm going to use this for like our copywriting, like for, on like the podcast on YouTube and like maybe our description on here, but
that's fair. Pare it down. We're not that cool. So yeah,
and you said that you're like, here's the best way to do it.
That's a robust bio.
It really is. It's amazing.
Now, they started with where they were born, and it went into early childhood development. Like, come on, guys.
But honestly,
when I was 8, when I put that Lego puzzle together, it was pretty impressive. So
put it on the resume.
I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, did you really have to talk about your Lego phase?
It's not a phase,
but no.
It's a lifestyle.
But I'll give you. How about we'll do the titles, and then if you guys want to speak on how you got into the industry or anything else that you want our listeners to know about you guys, then we can get into the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
But Jason, you're the co-owner of Brightstone Transitions, and Jill, you are acting chief executive officer. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, rock and roll. If you want to add anything else to your robust bios that I won't read, but you can read online, go for it.
Well, I'm co-owner because there's 2 of us. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Go, there's 2 of them.
That's what that means?
What?
Yeah.
You clarified that?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that's all I got. That's it.
So what is it you say you do there?
Right now, what I do is ask Jill what I should do, and she tells me most of the time. So it's kind of nice.
That's fair. I like the setup that you have.
Yeah.
I'm most disappointed that knowing that Jason didn't read his bio, I could have put whatever I wanted in there and just
do you
like
even know what your bio says online?
I do not.
No.
Let me see him.
Let's roll with it.
Let me see him.
It's great.
Because I'm a quick reader, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just disappointed in that opportunity.
That's what it really was. Zach can't read. I know. So he got that this morning, and he was like, "Oh," in a panic. He
Totally.
pivoted. Jason,
Secret's out.
he brings a wide variety of experiences and passions to the Brightstone team. Jason comes to Brightstone with years of management experience in both therapeutic programming and summer camp programs. Great deal of experience in designing and implementing programming to help young people. Started his career with inner city youth in Atlanta, wilderness-based program over 7 years.
That's good. I could have did all that. That was nice.
Yeah,
Make
this
me
is
look dumb.
Yeah.
you do, man. Boys and Girls Club, retreats, summer camp
Been in the
programming,
game for a while.
conferences.
Yeah, it just means I'm old. That's all it is.
How old are you?
41.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
come
that's
I'll be
young.
I'll be 42.
We'll be 40 in June and then July.
This is important to add. Jason is also the owner of Point School Puerto Rico. I'm popping when I point. Point School Puerto Rico, a hybrid gap year program, and Wisdom Ranch, a vocational gap year program in Arco, Idaho.
True story.
And then so and I've known you, Jason, for how long?
God, it's been like
10 years.
10 years. Yeah. No, I
Okay.
think you were the first parent coach that we used at Brightstone ever.
Okay.
Because it was just me talking to the families, and we figured we better get them some good quality care. So that's why we brought you in.
When he was there
At
at
Vive.
Oh, when you were at Vive. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay, cool.
So it was probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah. 2010, 2011.
Because we had just gotten to our second house. We had one house up in the mountain,
Yep.
and then we
That had the little boat by the lake.
Yep. And then Wes came and checked it out and started talking to families, and he's like, got it all set up, and he's like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm going to get my PhD.
Which I don't
How's that
have
going?
yet. But I will. I will. I'll have it soon. But yes, I remember connecting. God, that's right, man. I remember coming to the very first house and meeting. Who's the other owner?
Tim. Yep.
And Tim was awesome, and we only met a couple times, but I could see y'all's heart was in it. And you guys had a very similar approach and methodology, and it was very humanistic and very person-centered and very much meeting the young people where they were at and trying to focus on independent living and self-sufficiency and interpersonal relationships and connection. It was awesome. And I remember then Lydia came on board for a little while, and Lydia worked at Vive and then went over to Brightstones. And I remember the second time I came to tour, we went out there and she came with me. Yeah.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yeah. That was so long ago.
I know.
I've been in the game for a while.
Yeah, I think then at that point we had 6 clients. We had just gotten 6, and we thought, like, there's no way we got it all down. Like, this is it. We got 6 kids and or 6 young adults, and like, we got it figured out. And then
When did you learn that you didn't? Or you still just playing?
the next day, day, and then we realized that we don't have it out. And now we have 60 young people and still don't have it figured out, but figured out that that's okay too.
But you guys do a pretty good job, ever growing, ever changing. You know what I mean? Is this industry? How long have you been in the industry, Jill?
I've been in the industry for 12 years with Brightstone for just over 4.
Okay, rock and roll. So I'm like the rookie in the batch. I don't know anybody, any programs. I'm like, I've been in this game for 2 years under this guy's wing. So
But you've met a lot of people.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people for sure. So pretend, I'm going to use the line I used outside. Pretend I'm an idiot, which won't be that hard to do. And then tell me what Brightstone actually does.
So yeah, like what we do is pretty simple. Doing it's a little bit harder, but I think so. What we do is help young people, young men and women, young adults, become as independent as possible. So what that looks like for everybody is a little bit different. Some of our young people come with a lot of skills. Some of our young people come with not as much, and it's about meeting them where they're at and helping them get to that as independent as possible.
Okay.
And before I gotta interject again, I gotta do it.
You're the king of it.
I want to go back before because I want to get into Zach's question of what Brightstone does and talk more in depth about it, but I want to hear more about, we didn't do your bio sufficiently. And so all I know, here's all I know. The dynamic that exists between Jason and Jill is like, I knew Jason for years, but when you came on board, he was like, well, let me bring Jill with me. And I reached out, I'll be candid, I reached out to you guys with like guidance and help as we were growing Eternal Strength. And he was like, I got this lady, Jill, she's going to come. And I was like, great. Who's it? Okay. And then you came and I was like, oh my God, what a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom in terms of really, and maybe you can speak to it, Jason, but what Jill's done for Brightstone since she came on, it seems like you spearheaded quite a bit and really helped make the program robust and be able to run behind the scenes quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I will talk to that. Like, so for 6 years, what we did is we're like, juggling all the balls in the air. And, part of great interactions with people is, it's not because you're having the interaction with the people, you're helping them actually make change. Right. And what Jill did for our organization was that, right. Instead of it being only person centered on the staff of like how good that person did or that house did, is how do we put in systems so that this is just what we do at Brightstone. And that way it allows all of our people too to really like show their add their value too, instead of trying to keep up with a system that wasn't there. She built she helped put the system in place and where that we knew what every day was going to look like, which helps everybody, and then allows our staff to be better. So that's all she did.
Man.
Yeah.
Implementation and execution.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I was going to make like a car analogy. So if you guys were a car, Jill would be the oil.
No, I think if we were a car, first of all, we were in pieces.
Okay.
Like at a scrapyard?
Well,
was it that bad?
No.
We were on the assembly line. We were
No. No. If we're a car, we just didn't have the motor yet.
Okay.
We did great at downhills. When we hit that uphill, you're pushing up, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like Flintstone's car.
Yeah. Well, and I'll let you. Yeah.
What did you do? What's the magic? What'd you bring?
Well, yeah, I want to know. Give us a little bit. We know that Jason did all the Lego stuff, and he had summer camps and Boys and Girls Club and community. What were you doing prior to Brightstone, and what got you to Brightstone?
So a couple things that I think,
and I'm going to take off this hoodie. I'm burning up.
Yeah,
It is very warm in this room.
It is.
a couple different things that I think led me into it and kind of gave me the background to be able to even look at the systems. Well, I went to college to be a high school history teacher, which I'm obviously not doing.
Okay.
Really thought I was going to just teach in a public high school, coach sports, the life that I had. Ended up, first job I ever got was at a therapeutic boarding school in Connecticut. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and showing up there and living in the dorm with 10 different young adults. I was in the guys' dorms.
What was your role there?
I was a residential counselor. I was bottom
But
of the
no
barrel.
therapy programs before that. Never worked in the mental health industry.
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, had no clue what a diagnosis was, no clue whatsoever. I was just there, I thought, to teach history. And luckily, though, this baptism by fire of living in a dorm with guys with bipolar and schizophrenia and, had some significant episodes while we were there, kind of exposed me to this therapeutic world. And it did two things. It not only exposed me to that this field was out there, but it also gave me a lot of perspective of how my problems are really not problems, and that how lucky and fortunate I was. And so worked there, did the dorm counselor thing for 2 years, got tired of living with boys, and also at the same time found a passion for the kids in our program with autism. Truly only had the stereotypical version of autism in my head through some friends that I met at the boarding school. They'd moved out to Salt Lake City. I moved out there to become a behavior specialist at a school strictly for kids with autism. And then by way of jobs out there for a few years, and ended up in South Florida before I moved to Georgia doing case management and supervising for Boys Town, which is based out of Omaha, Nebraska, but it's a nationwide thing. And there really learned, not only got to continue to work with, mental health diagnosis and primarily autism, but got to kind of see how systems were created and how this kind of monster of a program that had nationwide, and billion-dollar endowments and that kind of stuff, how they were able to provide such specific care and client and family-centered care, but also have these processes and procedures that kind of kept them all in order. And then moved to Georgia and had my daughter, 6 months before I started at Brightstone, I was I don't need to go back to work, but if I'm going to go, it's going to be for the right thing. And ended up going up, and I had a phone interview with a former employee that I was look, I don't know, this place seems, I'm not sure about this, man. And then went up and
totally sketch.
Yeah. And then, I was I don't really know what they're doing up there. And then I went up and met Tim and Jason. I was this place is awesome. This place is really
you saw
cool.
their heart.
I did. Yeah. Oh, for sure. You can see and you can feel that they care about these kids and they care about the families. And, you know, it was just a really interesting model. And I'm sure talk a little bit more specifically about it. But I was like, nobody's like that I know is out here doing this stuff. And it just felt right. And so started as a case manager there and saw kind of the second phase of the program and those that were getting ready to take the next step towards independence, and then did staff development and our admissions process, and now kind of overseeing the program, which has been really fun.
What's your title again?
CEO.
Acting. No, it's acting something. She's acting chief
executive officer.
Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
It's what you are, man.
But that
She's
acting
you, bro.
piece is like she's.
But it's cool. I think it's awesome that you didn't just come in from like a CEO position from another industry and were in like but put into that position just because you've had experience. You started from, you know, case manager and worked your way all the way through up there, all the way up through to CEO. So it's cool that you went through that. You know what I mean? So you know the entire.
It's not like you were CEO of McDonald's and you were like, oh yeah, we do it the same way we do it with burgers. You just do it like this.
Yeah, because it's just not the same as any other industry, man. There's a certain type of person it takes to help run a program.
It's healthcare, but it's on a mental health level, which is like, man, pouring your heart.
Well, and I think the thing about our program too, because we have our systems, I think of them as like soft systems where we have the way that we do things like with staff development and goal setting for kids and all that, but we want people to bring in their own individual stuff where we've tried to hire from the outside before. And there are in some cases where it's worked, but I think if you want to like lead and see the overall vision, you have to at some point have like been in the thick of it and like been there teaching a kid how to do laundry, or like the kid that's trying to cook dinner and it's going to burn the house down, or, you know, being on the phone, getting your butt chewed out by parents, and like being really in the thick of it to be able to lead the team and, you know, be able to sit in it with them. And so also we're huge proponents of promoting within for that reason. And like you get to know the people. Like I already have an idea of like who I want to replace me at some point. And
that's awesome.
I just think it gives just such a different perspective, and you know whose hearts are in it. And again, because we don't have point systems, level systems, that kind of stuff are coming from the outside. It can be, I think, a learning curve for other employees that are at the higher up to be able to see the overall vision, not having walked through it.
I remember the first thing Jason said. He was like, you can't take Jill. And then she started talking, and I was like, I'm pretty glad Jason said that. He just kind of named it because as you talk, I'm like,
yeah,
I mean, you got a lot of skill set.
Whoa.
Easy.
Whoa.
And hold on, Jill, before we go on, I got to name this. The last podcast we did, I've gained some weight.
Dude, every time he sees the video, he's like, dude,
and I watched the video, and I was like, Slouch McGee. Really? I was like,
is that why you keep?
Well, no.
So now
keep doing this.
I'm making like a concerted effort.
I can't wait to see the video of this.
I feel like I look better already. And you're supposed to do that for your core and everything, but it honestly, it feels like an inflated ego thing, doesn't it? Like I feel like I'm a little bit more like humble.
You think having good posture is an ego thing?
Yes, it's a dick move.
No, it isn't.
I don't know about that.
But you're supposed to make yourself small in front of other people?
No,
or stand up straight
but
with your shoulders
this seem
back?
A bit intimidating.
Well, now I'm trying to. Are you sitting out? Is this a cue for one of us to have better posture? Like now the anxiety, like
I
now.
assure you, I was only thinking to myself.
I gotta say, dude, when I watch the camera back, because I'll edit this and I'll watch it forever, I'm like chewing the inside of my lip for like 10 minutes straight. I'm like, God, I'm like a fucking idiot.
You do that?
Yes, apparently I do, because I don't even notice I do. But I watch the video back, I'm like, what am I doing? Why is my face doing that?
Well,
anyway,
and then
it's probably because he interrupts all the time. I get it. I'm starting to, like.
Now, guys, just let me talk.
Hijack it, dude. Well, when we first started doing the podcast, he did, and I was like, dude, we gotta let the guest talk. But we would like hijack the whole thing like we're doing now.
Well, we all should keep talking so Jill doesn't talk more, because then she makes us all look dumber. So, like,
that right there is factual. Yeah, you sound very good. Where were we?
So the nitty gritty of Brightstone and what you guys do, I mean, there's nothing like it. So I've worked at different programs that do some mentorship, some independent living, but I don't know of another program anywhere that you can go, and you guys have built this community in Gainesville where a lot of the businesses and establishments and apartment complexes know Brightstone, know the families you're serving. And many of the young people that have come out there have this wraparound. And so they get, I was trying to break it down earlier, but there's a men's house, a women's house, and then there's a tapering step down that isn't a level system, but is more of, here's where we want you to start. We're going to assess on the level of care that you need. And then we're going to let you get in there. And the whole goal is to get you more independent, more empowered, more autonomous. And once we get that, we can start to taper off and let you use some of your autonomy and independence. And we're still there. And this community's still here for you.
Yeah. And it all started because we used to have those first houses and they'd have all this support. And then we're like, they don't need all that. Let's go to their own apartment. And that would be too big of a jump. And we were like, what can we do? Look, what can the intermediary be? And like, that's what we call it, launch pad. But like, that was like, it was just out of necessity because like you wrap these young people up with all this support and care and resources. And then you're like, okay, good luck. And like, that was too much. And then that's kind of where, I mean, that's where Jill got started with us too, is like, how do we we call it launch pad, but how do we take that and like turn it into something that's meaningful and that like, how do we keep it away from a levels like a carrot and stick kind of thing? Cause that's not how life works, you know, like, but how do we keep that into something that's manageable for our teams and they can learn and that serves the young people, right? Cause ultimately they're giving us the pleasure of like helping them, you know?
Now, are there certain requirements as they go through? I think the program, is there like a end date? Is this like, hey, we've tried to support you as long as we can. Like, I think it's time for you to get out there completely on your own. Is there like a cutoff for that or?
But usually what happens is most of our young people, like they can't wait to get out of Brightstone. Okay. And then as they get closer to being ready to be out of Brightstone, they can't wait to stay in Brightstone. So like we do have an application. You guys designed one. How long have we had that one now?
2 years.
2 years, yeah. So you apply. So it's the student still does it, still runs everything. Like so, when you're ready to go to that next phase, you actually go to an application and then you say, "Hey, here's why I think I'm ready to go to this next stage."
That's awesome.
And then they get feedback.
I just saw the scene from Shawshank Redemption when he was up for parole.
Yeah,
that's what I pictured in my head.
I don't
was a kid being like, and a team of psychologists or whoever like being like. And being like, frankly, whether you deem me appropriate to leave Brightstone or not, I don't care anymore. No, that's a bad example.
He got out that time.
There's a lot of manila folders and people sitting in long
a lot of
desks. Yeah.
But
go ahead.
We find that kind of intimidation works. No.
No. We like to use really big words that I don't even know what they mean. So
I've had clients over the years from Vive in private practice, and then Eternal Strength clients go to Brightstone. And the one thing I always feel awesome about is I know y'all's heart is there. They're cared for. They're listened to. They're met on an individual level. And I think that's the piece with the transition is you're really trying to case by case, family by family. There's not like this discharge date where it needs to be for this long. It's here are the goals, here's what we're working towards, but we're ready to pivot based on each unique case and each unique kid that we serve.
Yeah, for some of our young adults, it's going out and getting a job. For some, they're in college and they're working through, one class at a time, and some have full workloads. I mean, we have young adults that have full-time jobs. We have a journeyman welder who works 40 hours a week. He's up and out of the house at 6:30 every morning. We had one young woman who had a CNA license, and her having real careers. And then we have those who, truthfully, they came to us never having peeled a banana before, or one young man that's never flipped a burger. And so meeting them kind of at that level. And so, Zach, you asked about kind of what our requirements are. I think, while we don't have them, because it does look different for everybody, there's, of course, like schedules and routines, right? Which are things to keep them busy, thoughtfully, hopefully, and then the routines that we all need to kind of keep us on track. But I think the other two big things that are really important to us is a social group. Hopefully, we usually try to push outside of us. I think there's like one change that I could make is be like our motto is independence through application. And I think we could change it to like interdependence through application. Our young adults, I think, come to us with this idea that at the end of our program, like they graduate, and we don't have a graduation, but they think they graduate if they can do like all of this on their own. And they like put that pressure on themselves or feel like they're going to like fail if they don't. And the reality is none of us do this on our own. We all have people that support us. And so one of the big things we look at through those transitions are they seeking out help? Are they able to self-monitor to say like, hey, I do need help in this area? Not doubling down and saying like, oh, I don't need help. And before they know it, they've blown their whole budget, or they've gotten fired from their job, or they're depressed and lonely and isolating. And so that's like one of the biggest factors, I think, in moving through all three of our phases. And a big indicator for us that they're ready is that they can seek help as we're lowering that safety net. They're out, reaching out for help. Because I think for a lot of them, they've been the most vulnerable person, not just like in their classrooms, but with their families, and they come from means where private pay, and so sometimes I think that they feel less than just in their own homes. And so, I think when they feel like they have to ask for help, they can get stuck. And, I think we can see some regression there. But I think of indicators, it's not just the schedule, it's not just the routines, it's like having that connection, asking for help, self-monitoring, and it works. I feel like sometimes they have like the schedule and routine and the hard stuff, and then like the easy, what seems easier, like the other skills, and getting those to work in tandem with our team as we back out support has been, it's been cool to see, when they need it, how they need it, and then slowly transition out.
Yeah. What did you say? You called it through application?
Interdependence through application.
Man, that's awesome. And the whole time, this is going to be weird and stupid analogy, but it made me think of Mickey Rourke.
For sure.
Sure it's going to be.
I don't know what he's going to say, but
well, listen. The actor Mickey Rourke, he did this interview, man, and he talks about when he got into Hollywood. He did this very vulnerable interview, and he said, where I fucked up, man, and where I made the biggest mistakes was when I thought I could do it all on my own. Mm-hmm. So I started to just cut ties because I thought it was weak to look to people and community to support and that interdependence piece. And he said, I closed in on myself. Everybody in Hollywood, everybody that cared about me and reached out, stopped. And here I was trying to strong arm all of it on my own. And he said, that's one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make, emotionally, socially, psychologically. And so the goal is not to be independent and not ever seek help from anybody or support. The goal is to be able to get mature enough where you can say, here are my weaknesses. This is what I still need help with, and reach out and have that open expression of it. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah.
When it's kind of cool, I think one of the things that, and I'll give Tim all the credit for this one, is that social piece is the biggest piece. Like the rest we teach skills, right? Yeah. And then like teaching that you have to have a tribe, you have to have like a social network, and you have to have a reason. Like, who cares if you have a job if you don't have a reason to get up? And like, I think sometimes in treatment we forget that piece. We teach a lot of skills and like how to overcome something, but like ultimately, like give them a reason and people will show up, and like helping, like Tim installed that from day one. And it's also, we didn't have the money to have them go anywhere. So like we had to do something outside of this, but yeah, that social piece, like finding your tribe and finding something that's meaningful is it's a game changer for everybody, and we all have that. And one of the cool things about our kids is watching them like date and watching them like do these, like all these things that are like, you think in treatment, they aren't able to do. And like we kind of like run toward those instead of away from them anymore,
That's awesome. And I was thinking as you were talking,
another analogy.
No, another movie analogy. No, I was thinking about, it's very rare, all my time in private practice, all my time with Vive, that I talk to other programs, and the young person that I sent there would rave and really hold sacred the special relationship they built with whoever their coach or mentor was. But that happened with y'all, man. And I can remember the clients I would send, and almost like very defensive. So it would be clients that I had like 3 years relationship with, and I'd be like, come on, man, it's me. How's that other person? And they'd be like, listen, don't say anything about that other person because they care about me and they're there and they show up in this way. So the relationship that was being built with the mentors and the coaches at Brightstone was like top tier. And I can't say that for a lot of places. You see solid counseling relationships get built, but this was like very organic, humanistic work being done.
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages that we have because we are residential and we're not like, it's not, all of our young people choose to be there. They're like, and they're choosing to listen or not to listen to us, which also means that our people have to work harder, like when it comes to like, it's not just taken for granted. They can leave at any point. So like you have to have that connection. And also like, why would you want to work and do this work if you didn't have connection with the people you're caring for and vice versa?
Well, with our crew, you have to be genuine. Not only, I think that there's a misconception for young adults or just people on the spectrum in general that they don't want connection or they don't have empathy. Like the amount of times I've heard, oh, well, they have autism, they don't have empathy. I've see the exact opposite. I see where they're overly empathetic and they crave that connection. We're all wired that way, you know, and then combined with the fact that they're young adults and some of them have grown up in programs. I mean, we have kids that young adults that have been with us since, or have been in programs since they were 8 years old. You know, they can smell the bullshit. They can smell who's not there for the right reason. And we tell mentors when we hire them, like, look, this job is going to be what you make it. You can pick a kid up from work and view yourself as a taxi driver, or you can spend that time thinking this is genuine time to connect and get to know you. How was your day? Like, you know, do you get along with your coworkers? And that's an opportunity to get to know not only them, but hey, where do they need some more support? You know, you're picking a kid up from work who manager raves that they're great at their job and they love them, but the kid's like obviously exhausted when you get them in the car. Like maybe they're picking up too, because they are such a good employee, maybe they're picking up too much responsibility and they're burning themselves out or whatever. But that genuine connection and relationship, you know, is the core of what we do. And, you know, not just does it serve our model, but our kids can smell a fake and they've seen more mentors come and go out of their lives than, you know, they can probably remember their names. And so they're going to know who's genuine and who's not. And, you know, with that being said, like we have some of the best staff in, you know, in the whole group. I mean, we've got some really, really wonderful people that you can just see they come on shift and like they've got smiles on their faces and we're genuinely seeking their feedback and the schedules they work, it's because they're like, hey, here's what we think would work better for us. We're like, awesome, let's try it. You know, we've got some really great people that work for us. We're very fortunate.
Now, since it is a residential, your case managers and the mentors,
They have like interesting hours. Is there like overnight hours or like, you know, that they're checking in on the.
Yeah, so our mentors in that first phase, they're there 24 hours a day. They're on the shift. And and it's
They're right in the kid's face 24.
they're right there.
Right when they wake up.
For the weekend. So, but we've tried to change it a couple of times, and like our mentors and the young people like it better because they actually get to experience everything that the young people are going through. And then, you know, in the second, third phase, they're on shift, and like we have a morning and kind of an evening, and it's not really shift; they just switch when they come in. But like, yeah, for the first phase, they're there with them, and they're living. You know, they're there half the week with our young people, which is, you know, it's hard not to have a relationship when you're there that much with them. You know,
yeah. I was gonna ask, as Jill was talking about, and this is near and dear to my heart, but autism. And my daughter's story, who's 8 now and is on the autism spectrum, I think everything you named. I've worked with so many young people on the spectrum, and we have Ty, who's our creative director, and he's a mentor up here. And he said something the other day. There was a young person on the spectrum here, and Ty was like, "Man, wherever they are on the spectrum, that's the perfect place."
yeah,
Like it's. Because there's so much I think autism is something that we as a society and a culture are trying to understand, and it's here to teach us many things that we have deficits with. So it's easy to see autism as the deficit instead of autism as the teacher, and many of these things are like deep empathy, honesty, and transparency,
no filter.
and and
it's beautiful.
Well, just think about that though. Like, you know, like everybody's like, "Oh, I want somebody to tell me just like it is." It's like, no, you don't. You really don't, right? Like, you know, like
you're like, I'm around it all day.
Yeah. And like, you know, our young people, for a lot of it, and a lot of them, like, you know, it's cool as you teach social skills that are like social pragmatics. We don't teach social skills, but like,
I love that. That's cool.
You know, because we used to teach, like, I mean, I think we were so ignorant, like with autism, like it's not the other way around, you know. It's like, like we're not understanding. We used to teach all these young people who would think in black and white, and they would be like, give eye contact. So we taught, like, for even at Brightstone for 3 years, but before that, you know, for 10 years we taught people that. And what we did is teach people how to feel really uncomfortable because somebody would just be staring at them because we didn't tell them why they should be giving eye contact.
Right.
Instead of like, of saying like, hey,
I'm rocking this.
Like, hey, show people you're listening, right? And like, and that's a like us not being good teachers, right? It's not like young people being, but you're right. Like autism, like, and that's such a spectrum in general. But like, I know our young people, like, it's probably one of the coolest kids I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and like they're so genuine. They want connection. There's not a lot of room for the fluff that we talk like in, like, you know, you think about all the conversations you have in your day, like how's the weather, all this BS that really doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't. like, and like we just don't have that at Brightstone. Like that's not like, now we might talk about the greatest Lego collection or the like Star Wars, but we also talk about like, look what's going on in the world, like, like with COVID, like, and our young people are like, they once they find something that interests them, they go that extra step, and it's pretty cool, like hearing that and seeing that and watching them connect and just watching young people light up, like that social piece. It's something I think we take for granted and we don't see it as much, but like, I think you see it even through this pandemic, like with mental illness raising up so much. We're social people, and we have to be social, and like the rest, like all these other things that we spend a lot of time on these other skills, but like ultimately, like the biggest thing that our young people need, and we all need, is to be around people and to have people who you're connecting with. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's impossible to be happy.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Man, I was thinking, it's interesting because like I have so much, I feel like my daughters taught me so much, and clients on the spectrum have taught me so much. And then my younger daughter, River, who's 5.5, a lot of times Story, who is on the spectrum, will have these like super intense emotional responses to things and difficulty kind of regulating and all these things. And so River's here, 5.5, trying to understand her sister and what's going on. And the other night she was going to bed and she said something to my wife, Allison. She was like, as she was falling asleep, she was like, Mom, I think I figured out why God made me Story's sister and gave me a sister with autism. And Allison was like, why? And she was like, well, because I'm funny and I can help her calm down when she needs to, and I can show up like this. It was this really cool moment. And I just think I like branching out and completely trying to dissolve pathologies and diagnoses and look at human souls and who people are. And I think we're all quirky and unique in our own way. Mm-hmm. The thing, again, is we have these elaborate ways to hide it, these defense mechanisms and these ways to not reveal our true selves. And if we were able to reveal our true selves, we're a lot more unique and quirky and emotional.
Bunch of weirdos, dude, running around.
Yes.
But you're right, man. It is masked by a lot.
Yeah, to humanize it. And like, I think one of the coolest things that we've been doing over the last 3 years is really pouring into, you want to talk about stigmas, women with autism. The diagnostic rates are finally catching up. So you're talking about like not revealing our true selves. It's called social masking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we, and women by and large are way better at it than men are.
Not shocking at all.
But what that's leading to is a bunch of what we have now is a bunch of young adult women who were not diagnosed with autism until 17, 18 years old, after they got the borderline, after they've gotten the bipolar, after they've gotten the depressive or, what other diagnosis, and found out medication and typical therapy is not working. And until they get put in situations where they can stop socially masking and they can drop, that guard down and feel the connection and get the social pragmatics, are you being able to see like their true selves? And so we've seen our women's population, greatly increase. And we've gone around and presented on it and, done a lot of research on it because it is such an outnumbered, and even within our program, we have 2 men's houses and 1 women's house, which is now, growing in numbers. But there is just such a misconception about what women with autism look like, and stigmas out there. And I think once they can stop socially masking and feel more comfortable, we're starting to see more of kind of their true selves.
Man, Jill, you nailed it. There's a beautiful video, and I'll send it. We'll put it up on here, but it's I think it's
Zach will do it.
I'm gonna get into editing this like an hour in. I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot that video.
But it's women. It's 6 individual women with autism speaking about their own journeys from a phenomenological standpoint and really revealing like this is what it was for me. And for me, autism isn't a diagnosis or a deficit. So to be somebody who's gone through the world of mental health and diagnoses and being overly pathologized and saying you have this mental illness or diagnoses or formal diagnoses, it's almost like when you can find out that you're on the spectrum, that reveals almost like a coming home to yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, maybe I never had this slew of different things like anxiety and depressive disorders and OCD and all this, where it's like maybe this part and element of who I am in my spirit and my soul was part of the reason that I struggled and maneuvered. and a symptom showed up, and that symptom was diagnosed rather than seeing me as a holistic human. And that's, I think it's a beautiful video, and it's all these women talking from a personal standpoint on exactly everything you just named. And autism always gets associated with boys, and we see it in the entire mental health diagnostic field. They will look for it in young boys and not in young females. And I hope that with continued research and awareness and this unleashing of the social masking, that we'll start to see more and more people be able to show up and tell their story.
No, I hope so too. I mean, I didn't even realize Hans Asperger's actually didn't think that women could have autism. And so that's why early testing is geared towards men. It's all very like masculine focused and like how testing's worded and all of that. And I think things like that are starting to change, but I think that's where the male heavy stigmas come from. Yeah. So
man, it's all the white Caucasian dudes in psychology that messed everything up. I'm like a super.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, that is. I agree with that.
They were like, you're a woman and you're emotional. You have BPD.
Your boy's mine,
Well, some of those are the good guys.
Hey, name them all. Remember where you're like, hey, this is, you name like 2. You guys rock.
Yes. So Brightstone Transitions, and then let's also take a moment to shout out.
Yeah, you got 2 other
Puerto
spots.
Rico.
Point School, Puerto Rico, and then Wisdom Ranch, which Jill does all of them. So
No, we picked that up. Jill runs all this shit. We get it, dude.
What should we know real quick? A real quick highlight on those 2.
On those, so we wanted what's the least invasive like help that we can give, right? Like what is, we don't want, like Brightstone's amazing and it's a lot of support and a lot of young people don't need all that. And so what we wanted to do with Point School was, how do we take this anxious young person who needs life experience, who wants something like epic to do, and like how do we fulfill that and help him find out what he wants to do, and with the understanding that we don't know either, and he hasn't figured it out yet, and let's figure it out together. And that's Point School. And then
it's badass. And
Wisdom Ranch is like, okay, like not everybody needs to be like that ethereal with everything. It's like I want to go build something. I want to have like do something with my hands, and also like trades are like, we're down so many tradesmen, and there's so many people who can do great stuff, like whether welding or carpentry or mechanics. Mm-hmm. So you can go to Wisdom Ranch and be on a working cattle ranch, which one of our owners jokes with us, or one of our co-owners jokes with us. He's like, "What ranch is not a working ranch?" And like, I don't know,
it sounds good,
it sounds like
we city folks say this isn't working, but they go out there and they learn a trade and a skill. It's a gap year, and traditional college wouldn't be their thing, and it's so needed for those guys that just are hands-on learners, and they leave with badges in welding or electrical, and go on and get careers in a trade.
It's beautiful. You guys are awesome, and the work you're doing is amazing.
Always bring good energy.
The sacred spaces you've created. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to interrupt right there and then do a movie analogy, but I couldn't think of one quick enough. But like,
a nice way to end it. Website. What's your website?
It's a really long one. That's the only thing. I blame Tim for this one. This is
I like
so when we named it's www.brightstonetransitions.com. The longest email, and
that's not as bad as our email address.
Really fucked that up.
My email's weston.robbins@eternalstrengthatl.com.
I messed that up.
We could just
That
done
was
W
bad.
Robbins.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Or just Wes. Y'all are the owners.
Wes@ESYC.com. Yeah.
Like if there's another Wes, he's gonna be Wes too, right? Like he doesn't get it.
2 years later, we're just like, Dan, I'm fucking sick of typing out your email, dude.
I know. Like if we were gonna go back, our name would just be A.
Yeah.
Like
There you go. Yes.
A Transitions.
Yep.
Let's rock and roll.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Again,
Yeah.
Thank
thanks
you
for
guys.
being on, and we'll see you guys later.
Awesome.
Hey y'all, this is Wes. Thank you so much for tuning in to Eternal Strength Pirate Radio. Head on over to eternalstrengthatl.com, and don't forget to check out cosmiclamb.org, our 501c3 nonprofit, where you can make a donation and help us fulfill the mission of bringing radical youth work to any and all families in need.